And Kevin, there are still 11 games to go, but it does seem Liverpool do might just have one hand on that trophy.
You should have listened to me in October. You didn't listen to me in October. Now
Mhm.
you're listening. Can you hear me? It's over. It always has been. Sorry, I'm being facetious there. Yeah, look, it was a great performance from Liverpool. I thought Slot set them up really well in that sort of 4-2-4 sort of formation, even playing without a centre forward. They look comfortable throughout. I know City had a lot of the ball. And they had a threat in one area of the pitch in particular, which I'm sure we'll get onto at some stage. But Liverpool were just so comfortable throughout. It never looked like they were in any real bother, even when City sort of had a spell or two where they
Mm.
looked to get back into the game. And then again, we'll get onto it in more detail, but Salah was just unplayable, unplayable. It's one of those performances where you're just like, oh, there's only handful of players who've played the game who can deliver that sort of performance on the biggest stage, and we've seen it.
Mm.
He was just incredible. And if we're being honest, I it could have been more. Like it really could have. I feel like Liverpool missed a few chances. The one that's sticking out to me is the Szoboszlai one in the second half, where to be fair, Kusanov did well to sort of come across. Diaz had one, I think, where he took a heavy touch. There was the cross into the box from Alexander Arnold in the first half that was close as well. And yeah, it was the perfect performance in in a game that really just showed the gulf. And I think the other week we were sort of here talking about, Liverpool had drawn against Everton. They weren't great against Wolves.
Mm.
And we talked about how, to be fair, results at this point are the most important. I wouldn't be too worried about performances, but when you can put it together like that and
Mm.
get the results, I mean, it just shows how sort of deserving they are of winning the league this season.
Yeah, Grice, I'll stick with that point Kevin ended on there. Does it seem as if Liverpool have had their blip? Because a lot has been made about Arsenal fans and pundits saying, Liverpool will have a blip, they'll have a blip. They did draw 4 of 8 Premier League games. They had a little sketchy moments in December when they drew with Newcastle, a game they were winning until the final moment as well. It's hard to call it blips if you don't lose, but does it seem that they are that they are that good that they have these little blips, but they're not losing them? Do you think they've had blips? Do you look at them as blips? What's your take on that?
I was gonna say, if what Liverpool's been going through is a blip, can I have one of these for my team, please? There's not losing a game in the Premier League, or only losing one game in the Premier League all season. Yeah, I get your point though. I think it's just the mark of a really good side. It's the tried and tested statement, but it's a mark of
Mm.
a really good side that you can get a result when you're not playing well, and it's definitely something we've seen Slot install is this belief that no matter what the score is, there's always a way back into the game, and it does help when you have players of the quality of Mohamed Salah who can just decide to turn it on for a couple of minutes and score a goal and get an assist. But the whole team has to perform, and
Yeah.
I think overall they all have been for the large majority of the season. They've only really had, well, what was it, four off games, if you like, all season. And they've been pretty spread out throughout the season, which has allowed Liverpool to really just kick on. And when a side like this is in the form they're in, I don't think there's any stopping them really. Um, and I just want to go back to the game. This is a prime example of why you watch football with your eyes and you don't look at stats. Because if you actually look at the stats of the game, City had more shots on target, more possession, more passes, but they weren't in the game all for large parts of it. And that's another testament to Slot that he has got this team playing that they don't have to dominate games to win. They can just allow teams to sort of tire themselves out and pick them apart and be really ruthless. And that's something I've really been impressed with.
Grice slams XG nerds.
Nothing stand. Nothing stand.
No, I wanted to go on to that though, because I think that is an interesting point that a few other people have come up talked about over the last few months. I think, Sky Sports Overlap YouTube channel, they've spoken about it recently. Is football changing? You look at how in the Pep Guardiola era, it was more about the possession-based football, and that's how you're going to win the game, is being possession-based. And we've seen, the smaller sides like Southampton try it, and it hasn't really worked. But you're looking at sides maybe like Newcastle or Forest, Brighton as well, Bournemouth are in there, that they're comfortable without the ball, and they're still able to control the game. And we're seeing that with Arne Slot this season, that he went to the Etihad, knew Liverpool weren't going to have 66% of the ball, but they were in control after that first 10 minutes, where I think they were a bit surprised by the link-up play between Foden and Marmoush. I think that kind of got Liverpool a bit, but after they figured that out, they were completely in control of the game. And like Rice went through all the stats there, they were in control without having the ball. Do you think that's the way football's going now?
I think it could be, but I think you have to look at this Liverpool team, and what Slot is doing very well is he's playing to their strengths. He didn't play this way really with Feyenoord. They were a bit more sort of rough and tumble, fast pace. But when you've the two centre backs playing as well as they are, when you've Salah playing as well as they are, when you have a fella like Szoboszlai who can run up and down all day and get on the end of things, when Diaz and Gakpo have been in form, you have their pace on the counter. I think he's just playing to this squad's strengths, to be quite honest with you. Now, the thing that they often say this about in the US, particularly in the NFL, is that it's a copycat sport. So if you see the winners doing something, then everyone is going to try do that. And you saw that, like you rightly said, with Guardiola's great Cities team and Barcelona team, where everyone tried to keep possession. So it might do it. Much like the possession, it probably won't work out for everyone, because not everyone has the players that Liverpool have. But I feel like it's a more accessible way of playing football for those teams. Like, it's very easy to sit. Like, I'm not saying Liverpool do this all the time, but it's very easy to allow teams to have possession and sit in a low block. That's why a lot of sort of lower down teams do it. But you have to have the players to take advantage of that. And Liverpool are slightly more aggressive than that, I think, obviously, because they have better players. But it comes across as very controlled and non-flustered. So you might see it. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Like I said, I think Liverpool this season, outside of Salah in a few moments, like, they may not be the most exciting team, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because they're winning the league, and Slot won't care about it, and Liverpool won't care about it. So, and it's all about winning at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And like you just pointed out there, I think the biggest strength for Arne Slot this season, and I didn't really know much about him when he was brought into Liverpool. I knew that he should have won the league with AZ Alkmaar if it wasn't for COVID, and then he won it with Feyenoord. And that was basically just the extent of my knowledge of him, I'll be honest. And I didn't, with Jurgen Klopp, and it was brilliant. It was fast paced. They won trophies, but Jurgen was not very adaptable. It was going to be the fast paced, kind of similar to Ange in a way, but obviously Jurgen Klopp, being a better manager, was able to make it work. Arne Slot's, I think, one of his biggest strengths is his adaptability. He's able to just control games in so many different ways and in different phases of a game. It's not like he went into the City game and they were only going to play one way, and if that doesn't work, then so be it. They change. You mentioned the formations there, but it's not even as easy to say they played a 4-2-4, because it was so fluid throughout the game and in different phases. That's a huge strength of Arne Slot, and I'll be really interested to see how that continues over the next few years with the players he brings in.
It's nice to see a team as big as Liverpool, with the quality of players that Liverpool have, play in this like style of play where they just have basically unlimited freedom to do what they want, because you've seen it with bigger teams now. I'm going to Arsenal and Manchester City, for example. They have their style of play. They will stick to it to a fault sometimes, more specifically Arsenal, but I'm sure we'll get onto that. And it does allow teams to get at them and work them out and figure out a way to play against them. We've seen it with City a lot this season, that teams have finally clicked on to how they play. And okay, obviously they've had other issues on and off the pitch, but teams have sort of figured City out now, I think. And Pep's tried to adapt, and it's not really worked. But with Slot, okay, you know he's going to play some variation of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-2-4, but you never know where those front four players are going to play. You never know what the midfield roles are going to be, whether the fullbacks are going to really be bombing it up and down, or they're going to be a little bit more defensively solid. So yeah, it's I think it's unpredictability is Slot's biggest asset, because like you said, it's really fluid, really easy on the eye. Players are moving about, and it's refreshing to see from a top level team.
Yeah, and the other thing for me with this squad is they only brought Chiesa in the summer, and there are, they're top of the league, and I don't know how many times you've looked at a team that's first, looking like they're going to win a title and can point out glaring holes in the squad. And you look at that left back situation. I think Andy Robertson had a really, really good game yesterday, but he's been pretty poor for the last 2 years, and I think they do need a left back there. You look at that defensive midfield position. I think Gravenberch struggles in physical, coming up against physical midfield.
You need another option as well as he's played. You need another option and a different profile in there.
Exactly. Not to maybe replace Gravenberch in the first team, but just someone to rotate in for different game states.
Yeah.
Like an upgraded Endo.
Exactly. Slot's spoken about the kind of player he wants in there, which is physical, but is also really good on the ball. And then you look at that front line, Darwin Núñez. we don't want to go into him too much. Like I love the guy, but he's obviously not Liverpool quality. There was a bid for him by Saudi Arabia in January, that Liverpool turned down because they.
Why? What are we doing here?
Yeah, and it was because they felt like they couldn't bring in a striker in 2 days.
I mean, Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter if you can recoup whatever percentage of that. How much did they pay for him?
It was about 70 million as well. So it
if you can recoup 60 of that, you take that.
Yeah, but Kevin, if they get 90 in the summer, it'll be a masterclass.
No one is going to pay 90 for Darwin Núñez.
If the Saudis were willing to pay 70, they might just pay 90.
Yeah, and then they watch the Aston Villa game.
Yeah, well, if that's the only game they've watched them in, I'll be quite surprised. But so you've got the forward line in the striker that will obviously need to be changed and has to be changed. And I don't really know what kind of striker they're going to look for. Is it going to be an Isak? Is it going to be a João Pedro kind of player? And then left wing, there's talk of Luis Diaz all the time going to Barcelona. And I also would imagine the Saudis would be quite interested in him as well. He's 27, and I don't think Liverpool's board would be particularly interested in giving him a new contract. He started the season well, but you know what you're going to get from him now, and it's also not good enough. So there's potentially left wing that needs to be sorted out. And then you go back to the contract situation. I still think Mo and Van Dijk will stay. So hypothetically, they do stay. But then if Trent leaves, then that right back is going to have to be sorted out. So this team that might potentially win the league this year is going to look very, very different come August next year, I think.
I think right back needs to be sorted before the season ends. And I'm not even joking. He was awful yesterday. Awful. And he looks so disinterested when it comes to defending. I couldn't believe what I was watching yesterday. And I've given 10 minutes of praise to Liverpool's, and now the real talk starts. No, but it doesn't matter in the league context because it's over. We talked about this. My God, I'm sorry. You can't have. He was a passenger yesterday, and people say, "Oh, attacking." Yeah, but you cannot make up for that defensive performance. Yes, Jeremy Doku, don't get me wrong, is a good player. Is he a world-class player? He's not. He's a good, solid winger who's okay. His main skill is dribbling, and he can probably work on his end product, as we saw yesterday. But Alexander-Arnold was awful. He lost physical battles with him. He lost speed battles with him. His positioning was awful throughout the game. Honestly, the sooner Connor Bradley comes back from injury, he is better than he's a better defender than Alexander-Arnold. Okay, perhaps he obviously doesn't have the passing range, the technical ability, but he can get forward and put a cross into the box. I thought it was a horrendous performance from Alexander-Arnold, and okay, I understand you can have bad games, players have bad games, but the way he's carrying himself stinks to me. I'm sorry, absolutely stinks.
Can I just add on that as well? Mohamed Salah dealt with Doku better than Trent did.
Yeah, what are you doing? Like, Salah is that? What are you doing making Salah track back for you? Like, I'm sorry.
There was that double tackle, wasn't there, where he tackled Doku, lost the ball, Foden picked it up, and he tackled Foden and went out for a corner, and Trent was just stood there like, oh, cheers.
And I get this narrative. I get this narrative. Oh yeah, was it 11, 12 times or something he dribbled?
I think
whatever.
It was 11, and
was it 11? And it's like, yeah, but he ended up with 0 goals and 0 assists, so it doesn't matter. Do Liverpool know who they're playing in the Champions League next week? Like, do you want to see Kvaratskhelia against this man?
Jeez,
not really. No
mismatch.
Like, and you've just talked about Robertson, by the way. And look, I know I've hyped up this PSG team, but I'm being semi-serious here for a moment. That will worry me slightly if I'm Liverpool. Robertson and Alexander-Arnold against Kvaratskhelia and Dembele. That does worry me slightly. And I get you have Kanate and Van Dijk in there, so to an extent, yeah, well, if the ball comes in, they'll just deal with it. Yes. But I don't know. That would worry me if I'm a Liverpool fan. And I just think his attitude and his application yesterday really was really, really bad.
Yeah, no, I do agree with everything you said there, Kevin. And look, if Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to sign a contract, then he is going to have to sort this attitude problem out when it comes to defending. The problem for me as well, he started the season on it. And then I think he got injured or something happened, and then he just looks disinterested. Because when he is bothered, he's a good defender. Like, he's not amazing, but he's a good defender. He is. And
can I just say as well, don't get me wrong, he's well within his rights to turn down a contract. I'm not saying that. He's well within his rights to become a free agent and see what's out there. I'm all for, if he wants to do that, if he feels that he is worth more than what Liverpool are offering him, he is well within his rights to refuse that offer. But you have to be, I don't know, maybe and I'm not going to try to pretend to know what he thinks, but maybe there's an attitude of, the league has won anyway, I don't really need to try.
Well, can I just say, though, this is happening at Liverpool where the fans will be more forgiving with him being a Scouser, being a homegrown player. If he goes to Real Madrid and puts in a performance like that, we all know how he's going to get treated there. And I wouldn't put it past him to have performances like that in Real Madrid. I just don't see him being on it for 50 games in a season every single day. If he wants to go to Real Madrid, then he's going to have to sort himself out. Like, he can get away with that at Liverpool. He's not going to get away with that at Real Madrid. I want to talk about Mo Salah, Kevin, Grice. You both mentioned it earlier, but I just wanted to leave it as the end piece for Liverpool. 11 games with a goal and assist this season. He's on 30 goals, 20 assists in all competitions. Is he on course to have the best individual season by a player in the Premier League? And well, I don't think he needs 4 assists. I think it is to take Thierry Henry. And if Liverpool do win the Premier League title this year, does that put him ahead of Thierry Henry? Does it put him level? What would Salah need to be ahead of
I like
Henry?
I don't know if it puts him ahead of Henry, and I know this is sort of out of his control, but I think the fact that Henry was part of that invincible team is something. I get that Salah can't really
The
help
team that got
You know,
about 15 points less than Liverpool's 99-point winning season. That
and didn't
invincible
lose
team,
a,
that one,
and
that drew 12 times.
and didn't lose a game. Yes,
The
that
Henry that
one.
hasn't won a Champions League title.
Yes, that one. He has won a Champions League title.
Not with
He has
Arsenal.
won a Champions League title.
Not with
No,
Arsenal.
but he has won one.
Yes, but not with Arsenal.
I'm pretty sure he has. I'm pretty sure he has. No, he has one. Sorry, because Barca beat Arsenal. I'm not Champions League fan. Anyway, look, I think when you're coming to these sort of discussions, it's all objective and what you like, I suppose, because I think statistics wise you can say yes, look, it is up there with one of, if not the best individual seasons of all time. And then I think it's just what you prefer. That's how it works. Look, I said to you, I think, was it before the new year or maybe just after, I asked you a question, Darren. Is Mohamed Salah Liverpool's greatest ever Premier League player? And you said no, Suarez is. I think he is.
What I said was Gerrard was, but Suarez had the better individual season.
Gerrard's nowhere near Salah's level, in my opinion.
Well, Gerrard was the best midfielder of the Premier League era.
Okay, well, that's a discussion for another day. But I think Salah is comfortably above Gerrard as Liverpool's best ever player in the league. Now, if you can look, I don't want to go back and because we're not too well versed. You might be better than me, but on like Kenny Dalglish and Ian Rush and these type of players, I think he's still up there in terms of Liverpool fans. I won't sit here and claim to know everything. Obviously he's held in such high regard there, but the ins and outs of it. But I think he is Liverpool's best ever Premier League player. And
I think
season,
their second Premier League title confirms it, because I think
yes,
the one.
Yes.
Because Gerrard, what you have to remember with Gerrard is he didn't have a title-winning team over and over again. I don't think he never really had a title-winning team. They
did in 2014 when he cost them the league.
Gerrard didn't cost Liverpool the league in 2014, and you know it.
Who slipped?
Kevin, we're not going to get into that. That's not the reason Liverpool lost the league. You're not going to get me on that one. But Gerrard, for the longevity of his time in the Premier League with Liverpool,
Salah's been doing this for nearly 10 years.
Yeah, let me finish. Gerrard carried Liverpool for a long time, so in many people's eyes, he was the best Liverpool player in the Premier League era. What I'm saying is, with a second Premier League title for Salah, that probably does put him ahead of Gerrard. If he can get another Champions League title as well, then I think everyone would be more inclined to say Salah. Where it puts him with Kenny Dalglish, I don't know. I'll let the older guys deal with that one, the ones that saw him. But look, if Salah can stay for 2 more years, and Liverpool can maybe win 1 more Champions League, I don't know. I don't want to go too much into that. Then maybe. But yeah, I think that's a debate. But going back to Salah versus Henry, which is where I wanted to be, he'll have 2 Premier League titles alongside Henry. He could have more goals and more assists, break Henry's assist record potentially. Where do you put Salah? Because do you if you don't put him first, do you say he's obviously in the top 3? Where do you put him?
I mean, you could have asked me this question last season. I think my answer still would have been the same, that he's ahead of Henry for me. I just think it's like Kevin said, it's what you prefer, it's what you determine as successful. And I know team trophies shouldn't really come into individual rankings, but Liverpool have won it all, with Salah being a very key part in that era. The goals and assists figures speak for themselves. Every game he seems to break another record. He broke, I think, 2 last night, and I think for me, he's maybe more influential on the whole side. I know Henry was a brilliant player. I didn't really watch him. He's a little bit before my time, but Salah, from what I've seen of the two, influences the game a lot more. He seems to be just him, if you like, in a sense. I know Henry was the same really for Arsenal, but Salah is just, yeah. There's not really much more I need to say. I do think Salah's probably first, and Henry's a very close second.
Can I jump
Yeah.
in here real quick, Darren? I know I've spoken quite a lot about this, but I am a bit older than you guys, so I do remember Henri, and he was terrifying. In the same way Salah was terrifying for about 2-3 seasons. So look, again, it's all what you prefer. I have Henri just slightly above, but it's marginal.
What would Salah need to go ahead? And that was my question. What would Salah need to go ahead?
At least one, if not two more seasons. Maybe not at this level because but maybe I think another season, another one season, definitely another two for me. Yeah, like I'm not saying he can't do it. I think he can, because if you look at him, even though he's in his 30s, he's in great nick. But yeah, maybe another season at this level would probably do it for me. At the level he's currently at would probably do it for me. Like I said, it's marginal. And it's just aesthetics, and I just think for me it's Henri is just slightly above him.
I think sorry, latch on again, Darren. It's Salah's longevity as well is another factor for me. Henry was very good, but not for as long as Salah has been for Liverpool. I mean, he's nearing on.
Well, he left Arsenal in his prime.
Yeah, I know. Again, I think legacy is important as well, and yeah, he has the Invincibles and whatnot, but he didn't win the Champions League at the end of the day, and that's a very big trophy to miss out on if you're in conversations for one of the best players of all time. I know the Champions League isn't the Premier League, and the main focus is the Premier League, but you're not going to say no to a Champions League trophy.
No, but exactly, and that's where I was coming at it from. Is if you're looking at that time, Henry at Arsenal and Liverpool, Salah and Liverpool. Salah has the Champions League already over Henry. He may now get 2 Premier League titles with that ties with Henry, and there's potential that he could win another Champions League as well.